Well, we'll see what happened. Let's go.
Well, first of all, the officer didn't write you a ticket for going 88 and a 70. The trooper gave you a break and wrote you the second wimpiest ticket he could write you. I think this is only a 1-point ticket. But here's what I'll explain to you about.
Welcome to what had happened was.
When we take a peek into actual court cases and give you commentary based on our unique perspective and experiences, and also give you informational tips and tricks to help you avoid a what had happened situation.
Before we get started, give us a thumbs up, a tasteful comment, subscribe to the channel, and be notified of every video as they come out. All defendants are considered innocent until proven guilty in a court of law.
Hello.
All right, on the Google Pixel 9, are you Miss Aguilar?
Yes, I am.
Okay. This is a citation. It was issued on April 4th of this year on US 131 there in Gunplain Township. This is a speeding citation on an actual 88 and a 70. However, it was only written as 6 to 10 over. So, Ms. Aguilar, you are here on this 6 to 10 over speeder to do one of three things. First is you could admit responsibility to the citation. Or two, admit responsibility, but you'd like to provide some sort of explanation to court as to how or why this happened. Or three, you wish to contest this citation. In other words, fight the ticket at what we call informal hearing. What were you looking to do?
Wow.
88.
In a 70.
So 70 is already pretty good.
Yeah.
For a lot of highways. 70 is already pretty good.
That's a lot.
Because some highways is like 55.
And some are 65. The highest I've seen is 65. That's pretty good. Yeah, obviously that's not anywhere.
It wasn't enough for her.
No.
Because she needed to do 88.
88 and a 70.
Because even to pass somebody, all you have to be doing is 71.
Yeah, pretty much. But then he said, but she was written for 88 and a 70. She's written for only 5 miles over the speed limit because according to that, she was 18 miles over the speed limit.
Right.
And she's also over 80, which in most states, that's reckless driving.
That goes to reckless driving.
So she got a break, whether she realizes it or not. I guess she don't realize.
We'll see how she can talk herself out of, into
this, yeah.
Number 2.
Okay. And what is it you'd like to tell me?
This is interesting. She's starting off taking accountability. She's saying she's guilty, but she's going to explain herself. I want to hear what this explanation is going to be.
I want to know if she was on her way to the fire station because she was on fire. Let's see, maybe it
all I know is most of the time from I've seen guilty with an explanation does not work.
88 on the 70.
You just said you're guilty, so you got it like it's self-defeating.
Oh, Your Honor, I'd like to explain what happened that day when I received the citation. I was in the left lane passing a slower moving vehicle, and I did increase my speed briefly in order to pass and merge back into the right lane. But I was not driving recklessly. I was pulled over shortly after by the officer who was originally traveling the opposite direction and made a U-turn on that highway. Given the circumstance and nearby traffic, I'm not even sure the speed he clocked was mine. I thought I was pulled over because at the time I did not have my license plate attached to the back. It was in my front seat. So I was not aware of getting pulled over for speed. I just thought it was my car needing the identification. During the stop, the officer did conduct the conduction or the interaction made me uncomfortable. He questioned several times about alcohol and drugs, despite there being no evidence. He kept pressuring that, so that kind of made me like really scared. But he did peer through my windows of the car. The car is brand new, so there's really nothing there. I've never been in trouble before. I have a really good driving record. I do take driving seriously. I lost my brother to a reckless driver.
I don't know, 88 and a 70. I don't know how you explain, unless she can come up with some extreme medical emergency that was going on with somebody in the car.
She gave her reason and it had nothing to do with medical emergency. And she said she had to speed up to pass a slower passing vehicle. That's it. And she wants some consideration for the circumstances.
Because it's never happened before?
Yeah.
Okay.
She never got caught before.
All right.
Okay.
I'm just asking the court to just please take the circumstances into consideration when reviewing the citation.
Okay. Well,
That's kind of contradictory statements.
88
She
and a
said
70.
she said she's not a reckless driver.
88 and a 70.
And she said she's passed a slow moving vehicle.
88 and a 70.
What was he moving? He was doing 86.
88 and a 70.
That doesn't.
I'm just gonna keep saying 88 and a 70.
It doesn't. It in itself. Her testimony is contrary. It doesn't make any sense.
Almost 20 miles above the
speed limit, right? But she's a careful driver, and she takes driving seriously. That's not the appearance of what you have in the speed you were driving. You had time to take in all the fact that he was speeding. I mean, the officer was going a different direction, and it sounds nice and everything, but you still were speeding.
so, ma'am, if you contested the citation, I would hear evidence and decide whether or not you were responsible or not.
I told you that guilty with explanation does not work. It does not work. She'd have been better off contesting it and finding out and deciding what was going on, and then let the judge make a decision based on her testimony, the evidence, and the officer's testimony. But she just said, "I'm guilty." There's no way around that. Once you say guilty, you've locked yourself in.
Right.
And now if she changed the plea, now it looks like, again, your first statement was your original statement. And now even if she changed her testimony, it's not going to look good for her.
You're admitting responsibility to the citation, so I can't change the nature of your ticket. Now, lots of times what people, when they come in here, what they're concerned about is getting points on their license. Do you know what I mean by that?
Yes.
Is that what you're concerned about?
I'm concerned about the points and the amount. I'm just concerned about it all, Your Honor. This is my first ticket I'm trying to fight.
To fight a ticket means to fight a ticket. To plead guilty with an explanation is not fighting a ticket. That's just saying, Your Honor, I'm guilty. This is why you should give me a break.
She should have denied responsibility.
Yeah, she should have. Yeah, she should have.
Once you admit.
That's it. It doesn't matter what explanation you give.
Let's go with that little rhyme again. Once you admit.
That's it. Once you admit, that's it.
Well, first of all, the officer didn't write you a ticket for going 88 and a 70. The trooper gave you a break and wrote you the second wimpiest ticket he could write you. I think this is only a 1-point ticket. But here's what I'll explain to you.
So the judge just said, you got a break. The ticket you got was a break. He said,
yeah,
he didn't write you for 88 and a 70, which would have been an instant come see the judge, and he got 5 over. He said he gave him a break already. So you got your consideration. He said, and the judge said he wrote you the wimpiest ticket the second wimpiest ticket you could get.
About points. I'm not going to give you points on this. The trooper didn't give you points on this. Points don't come from us. All right. That fines and costs is the only penalty. Now, points come from Secretary of State. Secretary of State court, 2 different animals. They can't tell me what to do. I can't tell them what to do. Oh. But here's what I would say about points.
That's something I learned. That out in Michigan, points come from the Secretary of State, not the trooper when they write the ticket. Whereas I know some states, the offense itself automatically gives you the points attached to the ticket just for the writing of the offense itself.
Well, that's probably why he wrote her the ticket the way he wrote it, because remember those tickets go in, they go into the system, the Secretary of State or whatever, like the review board or whatever. They
don't look at the transcripts of the court hearing. They just see what was wrote, and then, okay, he gets 1 point.
What was written on the ticket.
That's it. That's all they go by. Nothing else.
So maybe that's why so many people have suspended licenses. Depending on how the ticket is. Okay.
First of all, points die a natural death every 2 years. So if you want to, just outweight this point and it will go away after 2 years. But maybe more to the point, if this is what concerns you, is there's a way for you to get rid of that point. But all I can do is explain to you how to do it for yourself. I can't do it for you. But are you curious?
I am curious. I'm also curious to know if I don't know, like this is my first time. I'm not sure if I'm doing this right. Trying to fight it. I'm just agreeing with the officer. I honestly don't even remember that day how much speed I went because, like I said, he was traveling opposite and there was multiple
Yeah.
cars.
This is another perfect example of how people don't pay attention to what they're saying, and they just talking, and she's trying to fight. Then she doesn't realize that you're not fighting this ticket. For the record, for any one of our listeners out there, if you're going to fight a ticket, that means you're not pleading guilty. You're pleading not guilty. That's how you fight a ticket. If you just want to get it over with and just want to just, hey, you got me, then yes, plead guilty or plead no contest if you're allowed. Which means I'm not pleading guilty, but I'm not fighting it. That's a no contest reason. I'm not pleading guilty, but I'm not fighting it. And the other word is nolo contendere. But if you're fighting it, like she said, she's disagreeing, she should not have pled guilty.
Yeah, you should have pled not guilty.
It's contradiction, of terms. I mean, I don't know what she's thinking.
I don't think. Once again,
she obviously didn't talk to anybody about this. She just went in there in her own head. You know what she got pulled over at? You know what she got pulled over at? She got pulled over at the intersection of wrong and strong. Another one. She got pulled over. She got her speeding ticket. She got at the corner wrong and strong.
You know what? There's another video that we did on.
We're gonna link that at the end of this video.
Maybe she was the passenger in the car with the other person.
I think she was,
and maybe that's why she hasn't figured out either.
You've done data only a couple of days apart. Yes. In her case, in this case, it makes sense why the other one pled. The other one said she's not taking responsibility. If she was with her in that car, it makes sense. Yes,
I think they might have been in the same car.
I concur.
And he was behind.
Well, here's a couple of things I would tell you. First of all, we do not mind people coming in here and essentially saying, "Look, I don't know what I'm doing, but I want to see what happens, and this is what I want." The first thing first is, when you're telling me that I thought I got pulled over for no plate, that doesn't make a lot of sense because the trooper, if he's coming at you the opposite way, he wouldn't know you didn't have a plate on the back of your car. So to spin around on you and pull you over is probably for a moving violation.
Well,
the other thing is, what's that?
I am so sorry, Your Honor. You can finish. I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off.
The other thing is most of the people don't realize just how far away that they're getting radared by that. So in other words, it would be the opposite direction radar in the front of the trooper's vehicle. Yes, you likely got radared when you were passing someone, and that's what.
So he's sitting there, and woo, she went by, and bloop, she hit the thing.
She came through the beam. They have a thing called a stationary radar.
And it reads out, when it says you're going 25 miles an hour, it says the speed limit is this, you're going this fast. So that's to already tell you, you're going above the speed limit. And so if you're doing 27 in the 25 mile zone, can you get stopped?
Yes, anything over the speed limit, you get pulled over. If it's a 25 mile an hour zone, you're doing 26, you can get pulled over.
And so when he's sitting in the car,
if it's a 15 mile an hour zone and you're doing 16, you can get pulled over.
So he's sitting in the car on the other side of the highway. And he's
sitting in the middle of the highway.
He's sitting in the middle.
Middle.
Okay, so he's sitting in the middle of the highway.
Yeah.
So he's sitting in the middle of the highway, and the radar is on.
Yes.
And he's probably clocking 72, whatever. People are going by
through the beam. Yep.
Through the beam, and he might have it to only you think 88 is not going to pop up?
Right. They don't realize that with those things, you hear it. All the speeds give different tones.
Right.
So the slower speed gives a lower tone, and you get something, then that's something fast. Then boom, the speed pops up, and that beam is accurate for at least 100 yards.
Right. So she came up on it. She was going at a certain speed. So she's making it seem like he just picked her out of nowhere. No, she was doing 88 in the 70. Right. So everybody might have been doing 72, 75, but she was doing 88 because she said she was passing a slower driver, which is the driver could have been doing 75.
And she forgot one very important thing that the trooper has: vision. He's facing traffic,
he can't see
he's
her.
watching one car. He's watching a whole bunch of cars moving at a speed, and one car come flying through.
Oh, no.
And-
Separate itself from the
Oh,
pack.
from the pack. We're going to link that video at the end of this video. You got to watch that.
Why it was 88. I will tell you this, though. The actual law is you still can only go up to the speed limit to pass somebody. That's how slow somebody's supposed to be going for you to pass them. You were allowed to go up to 70 to pass, but passing is not an exception to the speeding rule. You still only can go the speed limit. But like I said, if you don't remember how fast you're going, the trooper's testimony would have been, of course, that his radar said 88 and that he checked his radar. So if he had had a hearing, I likely would have found you responsible, but here we are sort of on the back end. But here's what I can tell you about points. On the Secretary of State's website, they have something called the Basic Driver Improvement Course. It's a safe driving quiz that you take online. I can't imagine it's very hard. It just takes up some of your day. Here are the 3 rules for it. You can't be a CDL driver, right? That means driving the big rigs. You're not driving the big rigs, right? 2, you can't be carrying more than 2 points on your license already. You wouldn't be because you said I got this good driving record before this. And 3, you can't have taken this test before to get rid of points, which I don't imagine you have before. You don't get to keep using this trick, but if you go to the Secretary of State's website and you take that basic driver improvement course, the carrot they give you is they'll remove the points from any one moving violation, which is what this is.
That's very important. I'm glad you gave that explanation. That was very detailed. Thank you, Judge. First of all, CDL drivers are professional drivers. They drive for a living. They have to do a whole bunch of rigorous training, hazardous materials, driving containers, extra 48 footers, 53 footers, double tandems, triple tandems, depending on where you are in the country. So so CDL drivers can't get this because there's no excuse for you because you drive for a living. And you're supposed to do what you're supposed to do to protect your living, your livelihood, by not breaking the law. Having more than 2 points, okay, it means you're really reckless.
What are you doing?
What's going on? That contradicts you being a safe driver.
What are you doing that you have?
And did you hear the last one? He said you can't take it before. You can't go and take this test, now.
That would be. I'm quite sure.
And then when the ticket, bing, bang, it cancels out. I'm good.
I'm quite sure that they had to do that because I'm quite sure there was somebody that was going in taking these tests and okay, boom, let me take this test again and had the answers written down for all the questions or whatever and might have even been selling those answers. Quite sure.
You know what? I have to agree with that wholeheartedly. You're absolutely
I'm going
right.
to say this.
I'm pretty sure, even though we're speculating here, but there's a good chance that stuff like this happens because of stuff like that. Because
someone will say I'm saying this wrong, but for every solution, there's a problem.
Right. Exactly.
I'm quite sure.
You're absolutely right.
So you have the opportunity to make it 0 points, but you have to jump through those hoops yourself. I can't do it for you. Does that make sense?
That does make sense.
So otherwise, all that's left for you to do is, for us here on this ticket, is to call the district court to make arrangements to pay that fines and costs. And the point will either go away after 2 years, or you can make it go away if you want to take those steps. All right?
All right. I do have a question. If we're able to pull the footage of that day, because the officer did say his camera was on. And when I was passing the car, he wasn't behind me like right away. It was a few miles down the road, and then he went behind me. So that's why I thought it was my license, not the
I will let the trooper correct me, but when they say that, the camera comes on when they turn on lights and sirens. So it wouldn't have been on coming at you when it caught you speeding, and then he looped around on you, and then if to pull you over, he put his lights on. That's the camera footage he'd have, not of the speeding incident.
I hear the judge is saying I don't agree with the judge on that one. I understand what he's saying. I understand why he's saying, and that is normally true. But most of the time, I've seen people get pulled over, and people come through them speed traps, and the minute that cat hits the beam, them lights is on, and they're right after that guy. So I don't know. So he might not. Well, he's behind the bench, so who knows? But I don't know. But I tell you this much. these people are really becoming too dependent on footage. 20 years ago, there was no footage. There was officers' testimony on it. And this is not 1984 by George Orwell. I know Big Brother is on you, but there's not cameras everywhere. It's not how it works. They're looking for too much.
What's she going to do if it shows that she was actually going faster?
Well, I guess at that point in time, she'll change her plea and say it wasn't her. I mean, it's what's done is done.
This is ridiculous.
It's the footage is pointless. I mean, yeah, I agree with you. What are you going to say? Nothing. This is just mental gymnastics. So I'm seeing it right
88 and a 70.
Exactly.
And he gave you a ticket for going 76.
Right.
Which doesn't give you any points or anything like that. It was just literally a slap on the wrist.
And
basically.
Normally anything 80 and above is an automatic trip to the judge for an arraignment and a bond hearing.
But he gave you 76. So he
gave her not 76. He gave her 5 to 10 over. That's the statute, 5 to 10 over. So it could be 5 to 10 over 25 miles an hour. 5 to 10 over 15 miles an hour. So he gave her 5 to 10 over.
Okay. So go ahead.
Can he pull that's so difficult. That's since there is no proof and he said I was going 88 and I'm just agreeing to it. What do I do, Your Honor?
Well, you could fight the ticket, but like I said, I know what his testimony is going to be, and your testimony is going to be, I really don't know how fast I was going. So,
but there's
not much.
You just said he didn't have. You just said that there was the radar he can't prove that radar was my car when he was trying.
No, ma'am, that's sort of a misunderstanding. Proof comes in many different forms, right? Now, if he had video footage, right, that would be one type of proof. But his testimony is in fact proof because he would be under oath and he would testify as to your speed.
Probably this new technology that people discombobulated. Back in the days, before they had radars, before all this stuff, you had officers sworn testimony. That's why you have to take an oath. That's why you have, when they swear you in to give testimony. And the courts have already decided years ago that our officer's testimony is in vehicle and traffic stops it's case law already. It's considered valid for conviction of a civilian for a traffic infraction.
But she's trying to make it seem like he stopped her for like some other reason, like there were other people going much faster than she was, and he could have stopped any one of those people. You don't get to pick and choose who he stops.
Exactly.
This is why you kind of try to not separate yourself from this pack by doing a certain amount of speed. Because she said she sped up. Didn't she say that?
Yes, she did.
She said she sped up to pass a slower moving car. Yes. Now, I don't know how much slower the other car was doing, because here's the thing. If the other car was doing 80, right, then she would have had to go much faster to speed up to pass this car. So she's not thinking about this. If I'm going at a certain pace, right, and if I'm doing 55 miles an hour, you can't pass me doing 55 miles an hour.
No, you have to go faster.
You just will be keeping pace with me doing 55 miles an hour.
Yes.
Which means you have to do faster than 55 miles an hour in order to catch up to me and pass me.
Exactly.
That is proof.
And for mine, can I be under oath and testify?
You would be under oath as well, but your proof would be, I really don't know how fast I was going. I just don't think I was going that fast. Which one of those two proofs sounds more firm and that I would go with at the end of the day?
I guess people don't watch these TV shows. You know, it says in these TV shows, they whole bunch, you can go look at anywhere, Netflix, Paramount, Cinemax, HBO, anything you can and say will be used against you in what? A court of law. And where are they? In a court of law. Traffic court is still a court of law, and she's in the court of law. She's already made her statement, I am guilty. She already said, I agree. So She's trying to be slick and weasel her way out of the ticket. Oh, there's no footage. Well, if there's no footage, then he can't prove that I did it. Then.
But you admitted that you did do it.
It's my word against yours. Yes,
But
your word against an expert test. It's your random word of I don't know and inconsistencies against an expert testimony. It doesn't work.
He's citing date, time, rate of speed. He's going through all the whole because he can't just say, I think she was going fast. I think she was going fast.
Yes, no, it don't work
like that. He has to
that.
say, I was at this time. I was in the southbound lane or the northbound lane or in the median or whatever he was. He has to say where he was. He has to say which exit it was closest to or whatever. She passed it, blah, 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 mile post.
Yeah, there's a whole thing you have to go through in order to testify.
He can't just say, I think she did it. I think she did it.
It don't work like that.
This is not working like that. And let's circle back around. She admitted that she did it. Does she now say, well, I don't admit that I did it now?
She's not happy the way things are going. It's not going. She thought she's going to say, oh, it's your first time. Oh, we'll just let you go. Have a good day. And it's not happening. You're like, oh, well, you're guilty. Well, But what about the points? You're going to get points?
They did let her go. When they gave her the ticket and they didn't arrest her for doing 88 miles an hour and 70 and doing reckless driving.
Yes.
They did let her go.
Yes, that
he gave her a piece of paper and told her, come back later and we'll talk about this.
That ticket you get at the scene is a desk appearance ticket. Instead of them taking you to the judge, here you go. We'll see you later. You're absolutely right. Yes, you are.
Well, I would go with mine because the officer was really traveling the opposite direction. And I know I'm a safe driver. That's why I said I don't know. And that's why I was so confused.
According to that theory, I wouldn't be able to see somebody running fast towards me because they were coming in the opposite direction.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
She's not even thinking about what she said. Here's the thing. She's not realizing either. If you're a careful driver, like a really careful driver, you're even looking to see what's going on the other side of the highway because that could affect you. For all you know, someone could hit the median and fly over and hit. So because they're speeding.
I'll go you one better. If you're a really careful driver, you're going to pay attention to every time you see a cop on the highway where they're located and the time of day, and pay attention to that because you're a careful driver to make sure that you're not doing anything illegal in that area at that time. Make sure you're driving you're a law-abiding driver.
But you're going to notice something going on, even if it's in the opposite
Yes, you will.
place of where you're driving.
I concur.
You're going to always sit there because that's part of the big picture.
Yes, it is.
That's part of the big picture.
Big picture. Because, again, the big picture.
Because there are some places on certain highways where you could literally, if somebody is they can cross over the median and come into ongoing traffic.
Yes.
Used when he pulled me over was because
Ma'am, would you like to have a hearing?
If that's possible, yeah, I think I would.
All right.
So there you had it. Now we're going to hear this testimony. She wants an informal hearing.
She wants a hearing.
So now the thing we were just talking about, let's see what the officer says. I want to hear what his testimony is going to be. I'm pretty sure it's going to be a doozy. And it's still going to come up to the same outcome. But let's see.
But she said she was guilty.
Well, she changed the plea.
Oh, now she changed the plea.
Remember, when she sat there and said she was a hearing.
Horse midstream.
Yeah, she changed horses midstream. And when she sat there and said, I want a hearing, now she's saying she's not guilty and she wants to fight it out. Now she's truly fighting it out. So let's see how good she is. Because she just admitted already in court to the judge, but he can't unhear that I wasn't paying attention to what I was doing. So let's see how this works out.
So, Trooper, if you would go ahead and raise your right hand.
Yes, sir.
Ms. Aguilar, go ahead and raise your right hand.
I apologize about the video as well. I'm having connectivity issues.
That's all right, as long as I can hear you.
I had to stop right there. Yeah. She knew how to get it. He said trooper. And she said local officer, maybe she still wouldn't have had a much. She might have a little bit of shove, but not much. Trooper, that's a state trooper. And they are highly trained. And they are not, someone that doesn't. They go through extensive training to be a trooper. It's not because that's why they do what they do. And in some states, troopers do more than just patrol the highway. They do the highway, and they are the leading police force in some states. Some states they're restricted to highway, some states they're not. But the main thing that is definite throughout all of them, they are all highly trained and professional.
You swear or affirm any testimony you give here today would be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
All right. Ms. Aguilar, it makes a lot more sense for me to start with the trooper. He has the burden to establish to me why you were issued a citation in the first place. But after that, you'll have an opportunity to either ask questions or testify on your own behalf, all right?
Okay.
And with that, trooper, if you want to pick up the narrative somewhere where it makes sense, explain the issuing of this citation.
Yes, sir. I'd like the court to know, to start off, that I'm a certified MCOLS radar operator. The unit that I was using on the day that I issued the citation is certified by the state of Michigan radar unit. The radar unit that I was using is affixed to my patrol car dash. And I verified the working condition of the radar at the beginning and end of my shift, as I do every single day. On this specific day, on April 4th of 2025, approximately 7:49 a.m., in the county of Allegan, township of Gunplain, I was actually working stationary radar patrol in the median just north of 106th Ave. I was facing oncoming traffic, so southbound traffic, while my patrol car was facing northbound. While doing so, I activated my stationary radar, opposite direction radar, at which time I observed a white Nissan passenger car pass through the operational range or beam of my radar. At this time, I observed the vehicle traveling 88 miles an hour in a 70 mile per hour zone, and subsequently initiated a traffic stop of the vehicle and identified the driver as Ms. Aguilar. And after a brief investigation, issued a citation for 6 to 10 over rather than the 18 over that I observed her traveling. I would like the court to know that my radar unit was free of any obstructions. The vehicle that I was tracking was the vehicle being driven by Miss Aguilar. I know that because as the vehicle passed through the operational range of my radar, I heard an audible tone corresponding with the speed. And then once the vehicle passed through the operational range of my radar, the tone ceased to exist. So I'm confident the target vehicle was the vehicle that I stopped. And the driver of the vehicle was the driver that I issued the citation to.
And Trooper, I'm just going to ask you a question or two because I know that Ms. Aguilar is interested in how this works. You testified that you checked your radar at the beginning and end of your shift. I'm assuming what you mean by that is you checked it against your separately calibrated speedometer.
Correct. So we're required at the beginning and end of every shift. It's actually on our program or on our daily system where we check and track the condition of the radar to make sure it's working in proper condition, that everything is accurate, and that there is nothing is inaccurate, nor is it not functioning properly.
And then let me ask you, Trooper, if during the check at the beginning of your shift, it did not check out, what would you do?
I would not be able to conduct radar. I would have to immediately contact Wheels or our technicians to come immediately and fix and calibrate and make sure to get the radar in working condition. It's actually, we are not allowed to use that radar unit if at any point in time it is not in proper working condition.
And then if it was working at beginning of shift, you wrote tickets all day, and then at your end of the shift, there was a problem with the radar. What would you do with the tickets you wrote all day?
They would immediately have to be voided. So
here's what she's not realizing, and a lot of people may not have realized.
Uh-huh.
he has to calibrate the unit has to be calibrated at the beginning of the shift to make sure it's working. And it has to be calibrated at the end of the shift to make sure that it continue to work the whole day. He could have wrote 300,000 tickets. And who knows? If he wrote 300,000 tickets in that one day, and something was off in it, all those tickets are null and void. So here's the thing. You might have that you did something and you got a ticket for it, right, and then the ticket magically disappeared out the system. That doesn't mean you didn't do it. It means that because of the fact that the machine went whatever.
That's the technicality.
That's the technicality. You really didn't win. Right. You just didn't lose as bad because the ticket still got written. It's just that it's not going to be able to enter the system. So then now you're free to do the same stupid thing again another day.
Well, let's see how her testimony is going to go.
But she's sitting there saying, okay, so he does have to calibrate it. And then they say if the machinery is not proper, it has to be taken out of the rotation.
He has to give his testimony as to his credentials, his
he has to say where he was,
he
which direction he was going, what he was doing at the time.
You know, again,
everything. He had to say the time.
He did a very good. He did a very good testimony, but I've heard even more detailed than that.
He even. I'm surprised he didn't say the weather and how it was that day.
And I know in some states they have to give the time and date. He did give the time and date. They had to say what you were wearing at the time. They even had to go according to they write down your statement you made to them when he put it. So again, it was a very detailed, professional testimony, and I've heard even more detailed than that. So let's see how she's gonna get out of this. I want to see this go. Doesn't look pretty good so right now. So far, it doesn't look that good.
All right. And so, Ms. Aguilar, I'll turn this over to you now. So it's your turn to either testify on your own behalf or ask questions of the trooper.
I would like to get proof. I feel like I should see the video to testify for the proof. To see
the enormous amount of evidence that he just testified to is the proof, just so we're clear.
Yeah, he said that he was clocking south, but I saw him while traveling before passing. He was moving and making a U-turn. He wasn't sitting still. He wasn't. That's why I'm really confident that there was other passing vehicles. And he said that he's confident that the radar did read, and that's not technically proof. Like, he's just verbally saying confident.
Didn't you just say she was confident?
Yes. She said proof.
Yes, that's a legal term. Proof. Yes.
Is that double proof?
Yes, that's. Is
that like a liquor standard?
That's better than prima facie evidence. That's proof. Wow.
Is that
what a testimony
like a liquor thing? Or you have to have proof?
Yeah.
Not just proof, but like double proof.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Wow. And you see how even though he sat there and went through all that testimony, it's still this answers your question you asked her. He said, "What's she gonna do if she's under the impression that unless there's a video evidence and it says you when a hand comes out of the sky and says you're doing 88 as she's going down the highway, it's not gonna enough. No matter what he says, it would hurt his testimony will never be enough for her to satisfy her.
Because his testimony makes her guilty and she doesn't want to be guilty. But she's looking for this video evidence that's going to compound. Or sometimes there isn't video evidence. That doesn't stop her. Right. His testimony. Look what the judge said. She said, I don't know how fast I was going. And he gave a whole detailed thing.
Right. The scientific instrument that he used to show how fast she was going is not good enough. The fact that he was facing ongoing traffic, that's considered that in her mind that counts as him from being able to say he can pull her over and she's guilty because there's no way it could be me because you're facing the opposite direction of traffic.
But she said she saw him. She said she saw him. Yeah. So if you saw him, why didn't you slow down?
Why do that?
Because you was already stuck. That's why.
And then he was behind a different car before.
No, ma'am. I'm gonna sort of crawl through this because if there was somebody else behind you, we wouldn't do this. But I want you to leave here understanding what happened.
So she's decided just because she doesn't feel what he's saying is right, because it's against her, that it's right. Never mind that he had to go to the academy. Mm-hmm. He had to study. Yep. He has to know like 95% of the state laws
and had to pass the test
and vehicle traffic laws. Mm-hmm. He has to know the vehicle traffic laws in any jurisdiction he goes to. He has to learn those laws in order to be able to enforce them, because it's not like a city police officer where they just kind of have they get a basic thing, but he has to know he has to go anywhere in the state. A city officer, they just operate within that city. Correct. But the state troopers, they go all over the state, right? Yep. Any one of the counties that they're in.
Where's the state?
So that anywhere in the state. So he has to be able to to testify to anything that's going on in the state. So when state troopers pull you over, they're gonna sit there. They're not gonna waste their time.
No, they're not.
For the most part, I don't know. And this thing about video testimony, come on, within the last 5 to 10 years, because of the telephone technology, is that everybody has phone cameras and things like that. Because 15, 20 years ago,
it didn't exist.
Somebody's
like
gonna whip out a camcorder and be like, I got you.
Right.
Nobody's doing that.
No, they're not
Nobody's doing that.
No, they're not. And they didn't have these smartphones 20 years ago like that. No, they did not. And again, what did you rely on then? Officer testimony.
Because 20 years ago was 2005. And phones were there, but they didn't have, some of them, you might have got one with the camera, but it was black and white pixel or something like that.
They were just starting to make them that you could carry them in your hand. You know, there were no giant phones they had.
No, but and then digital cameras were coming out.
Yeah.
But it wasn't on your phone. They was finally able to, they learned how to marry the two together.
Correct.
But you wasn't taking out.
No, you had a phone. This is before, now it's before the days of BlackBerry. When BlackBerry was just coming out, so, yeah.
Okay.
So he what he testified to is he's literally just sitting there with his radar on, right? So to make sure that the radar works correctly, in the beginning of his shift, his radar has to check against a separately calibrated speedometer in his vehicle and come up with the same reading. If it doesn't, he can't use the radar all day. Then he uses the radar all day, and he does that check at the end of the shift too. And if it's not working at the end of the shift against his separately calibrated speedometer, he would just void all the tickets that he wrote.
Right.
So the first thing he said is visually he sees your car, right? Now we would back in the old days, you'd let officers or troopers guess at speeds because this is what they do all day and they're pretty good at guessing speed. But we don't let them say how fast you're going. But we do let them testify that they think this automobile is traveling above the speed limit of 70 miles an hour, which he did. Okay. Then what he did is get you with his radar, right? So he knows that you're the car in the radar because it tones out. In other words, it makes an audible tone. And the audible tone changes in pitch depending on how fast it goes. So he also knows if that tone doesn't match the number he's seeing, something's wrong. Okay. And then once your car is out of the cone of his radar, the tone stops. That's how he knows it's sort of your car. Then he sort of flipped around on you and pulled you over. So he actually has testified 3 different ways that you are traveling well above the speed limit of 70. And what you're telling me is, I don't know how fast I'm going, but I just don't think I was going that fast. Now I have.
On one hand, we have, he sits there, he's stating who he is, what he did, the time of day, and also, like I just said,
to pick one of those sets of evidence, right? Either your evidence, which is your testimony, or his evidence, which is his testimony. And I don't have to find beyond a reasonable doubt. You've heard that before, right? Because this isn't a crime. The standard for this, because it's a civil infraction, is you likely did it, 51%. So when I weigh all his evidence and testimony versus essentially the lack of evidence and testimony on your behalf, of course I would find it is more likely than not that you were actually speeding. You were actually going faster than the ticket you were written, but you were at least going 6 to 10 over. And that's why I would find you responsible. If you're searching for more than that, or that doesn't feel like a sufficient explanation to you, I don't know what else I can do for you, ma'am.
She wants him to explain it in a way that makes her innocent.
Yes.
She said she was doing, first of all, when the trooper gave her a ticket doing 6 to 10, and he didn't specify, he just said she was going a little fast above the speed limit. He didn't write that ticket for reckless driving.
No, he did not.
So, you know what? She should have got a fan. She should have got like 5, 6 tickets, and then maybe should have been a little bit happier. Because if he would have wrote each ticket individually, she'd have had to be, because if he would have gave her a reckless driving, because she was reckless driving, and the judge told her that. She said, oh no, he said, you were reckless driving because you're doing 88 in the 70s.
Yes.
So he could have gave her a whole bunch of other ones.
And in most states in America, anything above 80 is considered automatic reckless.
She could have got arrested. He could have arrested her,
Yes.
but he just probably didn't want to go through all of that. And he just thought if he gave her the ticket, she would take the ticket, gain from the experience, and move on. But no,
Nope.
she has to gain a different way.
Because she didn't have to have the Zoom hearing. She could have just put pleading guilty. You don't need to come on. They still have one. If you're guilty, just mail it in.
No, somebody whispered in her ear and told her, I think you could beat it. 88 and a 70?
Yeah.
And
Also,
that he didn't write her for 88 and a 70?
he did not.
Talk about, I don't know how fast I was. Then you need to look, either you need to get new glasses or a different car, because your car tells you how fast you were going. So it means it was your speedometer broken. She'd have been better off saying her speedometer was broken and she didn't realize how fast she was going.
Right.
She would have been better off going with that.
And
she's
pleading not guilty and saying
pleading
that.
not guilty, and then go back and see and have the car calibrated and everything like that, because he got to have his equipment calibrated. How we know her car's not faulty?
Right. And she didn't ask to plead to a lesser offense either to him earlier than this.
That's
Well,
how this works all day, every day.
I understand, Your Honor. Is it possible confirmation from his radar to make sure that it was working accurately that day for me?
Well,
She wants too much. She's doing too much now. She pled guilty. She changed her testimony. She had an informal hearing. At the informal hearing, she was still found guilty. And then she's still now trying to find out, was his radar working? He testified that it was working. Can I get confirmation that it's working? Can I get the video evidence? This is not a movie. This is real life.
Once again, they said that if they find the machinery is faulty that day, all the tickets that were written that day are taken out of the system.
It would have been expunged, yes.
So
yes.
once again,
And it's still and
today wasn't that day. Wasn't that day?
Yeah.
It could have been, but it wasn't that day.
And now she's still, even though she's trying to get, it's still not enough, and she's still asking for more. There's nothing more that no one has to do for her.
I could have him testify to that, but we're going to wrap things up here. Every, I think, 90 days or so, a tier 3 operator checks the radars, and then every 120 days, a tier 4 operator checks all the radars of the car. And if there's any problem with any of the radars, they take those out of order. And there is some sort of maintenance logbook that the state police keep for that. You probably could subpoena those records or ask at a formal hearing that somebody would bring those records in. But at informal hearing, I would not expect the trooper to be familiar with those records at this state and time. Just know that there is, in fact, a method of continuously checking these radars, that if there are problems, they're taken out of circulation. So that they're in circulation is sort of the prima facie evidence that against that set of checks, they are working.
Thank you, Your Honor. I just want you to
sense?
that I wasn't driving recklessly. I was just passing. I do apologize.
Ma'am,
if
reckless driving is actually a crime. There is a whole
Yeah.
charge for reckless driving. That's not what you have. You just have a charge of speeding, like lots
that's
of
what I'm
people do.
take into consideration if the ticket can be waived, because I am a responsible, good driver.
There you have it. Now it comes out. You hear what you said?
Mhm.
I'm a responsible driver. Can you just waive the ticket? Just get rid of it. Your Honor, I know I did this. I know I got found guilty, but I'm a good driver. Can you just waive the ticket? Just make this ticket go away. I don't want to deal with this. I don't feel like dealing with this right now. It's not fair. I don't like what happened. And can we just waive this and like this never happened, please? No. That's not how this works.
He should have gave her a reckless driving ticket.
He should have.
He should have gave her a fan.
Yeah.
Then maybe she would have. See.
And she really appreciates.
Sometimes you can't. Sometimes you can't win for losing.
You can't.
He tried to give her a break, and look, he's like, you know what? This is why you get some state troopers that will write you a fan of tickets because of people like this. So now the next time he catch somebody doing something, he's gonna write him a whole bunch of tickets.
Yeah,
Because he's like, I'm not going to court, and you're gonna sit there. And
now you're gonna make it worth my time to go to court.
Yes.
Because I even giving you a break, it's still not enough. What? This is ridiculous.
I hope she don't go on that highway again, and he don't get her again.
Better not.
He gonna give her a book.
And ma'am, here's the problem, right? If what we did was judge everybody who gets a ticket on whether or not they're a good driver or not, that would be incredibly unfair. So bad drivers are just automatically responsible for their tickets because they did it in the past, or good drivers couldn't possibly be speeding because they've never got a speeding ticket before. That's sort of not, I mean, it's scary that that would be how the legal system works, right? I would judge this circumstance just on this circumstance, this time frame, and the facts that are presented before me, which is exactly what we did. Now, as far as getting a break, you did get a break. You got a break on the side of the road where this trooper decided to write you a ticket that's a third less than what he could have written you for, right?
What could he have written me? I don't know what he could have written me for because.
Well, ma'am, if you're going 88 in a 70, how many miles over the speed limit is that? 18 miles, right?
Well, that's what he's saying, and I was agreeing. So obviously, I have to own up to that.
No,
so,
ma'am.
yeah.
Even if you no, we stopped doing that. I didn't take it that you agreed. We had a hearing, and I found clearly that you were going 18 miles over the speed limit. He did not write you a ticket for that because that's a 15 to 20 over. That's not what you're here on. That's not what I just found you guilty on. I found you guilty on a 6 to 10. He could have written you a 10 to 15, and you would have been responsible on that. He could have wrote you a 6 to 10. He could have wrote you a 1 to 5. He not only gave you a break 1 down, he gave you a break 2 tickets down. And you're still here just saying nobody gave you a break, right?
No, you're misunderstanding me because I'm not aware of breaks and tickets. This is my first one. So I hope you understand that I don't know that that is a break. But thank you for informing me about that.
Now she went from delusion to condescending. She's not getting it. It's still, no matter, this is an example, no matter what he says or what's done for her, she's just not going to, no matter what, she's not going to admit guilt. She's not going to take it. She's gonna feel what she feels, and that's just the end of it. She's not going to accept
her a
the
ticket
fact.
book. Telling you, next person, I feel bad for the next person because they're gonna get a ticket book.
Ridiculous.
I'm here to fight it because I was just speeding to pass a car. That's it. That's all, Your Honor. And that's the break that I was looking to get. If I'm accused of speeding, I apologize.
She keeps not realizing that she's saying the word speeding.
Yes.
You keep saying the word speeding, which means you were speeding.
Speeding is a traffic infraction. And she keeps saying,
and she could have passed the other car. She could have dropped back her speed and cut over to the right and got past that car too. So there's more than one way to pass a car. Well, she may not know that because I don't know how long she's had her license.
Just passing a car in the left lane and got back over. He then was traveling behind a different car, turned his lights on, then came to me, and then I pulled over. Like I said,
it takes a while for him to catch up to you, right? Because you're going.
He didn't take a while.
70-something miles an hour, and he's going no miles an hour.
He stopped. So now he has to go from 0 to whatever to start. Now he has to start to catch up to her.
Well, she was doing 88, so he had to go fast in 88 to catch her.
He got to do like 90.
Yeah, easy.
He has to turn around and come after you. But one more thing, Miss Aguilar, because you had a contested hearing, you now do have a right to go to what's called formal hearing. Formal hearing is in front of the district court judges with the prosecutor's office. But to go to formal hearing, you must do 2 things. One is you must ask for that within 7 days of today's date. Your window of opportunity to contest this further closes after 7 days. And 2, you must come in and post a cash bond in the same amount as the fine to guarantee your appearance at formal hearing. Do you understand your rights on appeal?
Yes, I do.
All right. Then we're all set for what we need to do here today. I'm going to go ahead and release parties. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Have a good day.
You too.
Go ahead.
So now she wants to she wants to appeal to a higher
No, she didn't say whether she would. He just said
You have the
you're
right to go
to.
do that.
And you see what it turns. And what it boils down to is she said, since this is my first time, I want you to just. I know you wrote me a ticket. I want you to just let me go and waive it and not give me a ticket.
No,
It's not how
he gave
how it
her.
works.
See, but once again, this is why you say when you say, "Oh, you can't give me a break," and no, because look, you're some people you can't give a break.
No, he gave her a break, and she still wasn't happy. And she said that break is the break she wanted is I want you to write me a ticket and then dismiss it. That's what I want you to do. Write me a ticket and say you got a ticket, so I can say I got a ticket, and then I want you to dismiss the ticket so I can not have a ticket again. No, that's ridiculous.
And see, the next person is I don't know. I feel bad for the next person. Hopefully, he's not like that, but he might have to be.
Yeah.
Thanks for watching.
And also give us a thumbs up, like, comment, share. Subscribe to the channel, and you'll be notified of every video as they come up. And get that algorithm going and help us build this channel.
And make sure that you don't wind up in a what had happened situation. Boom, boom, boom.